What is up? Welcome to Veteran Uncensored. What's up with you guys? Welcome to a new video. We were promised that the swamp was going to be drained, but it looks like the alligators were just put on red hats. Where Tucker Carlson just released an interview with Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she is saying quietly but very proudly that Donald Trump is being bought and paid for by donor class. I mean, I don't know what to say about that. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Let's get right down to it and not waste any time.
Caller is kind of, and Don Bacon is another name you mentioned a minute ago, but is kind of a metaphor for the corruption in the system, it would seem to me. So Mike Lawler obviously is way out there on pointless wars, neocon politics, loyalty to Israel, almost to a cartoonish point.
Yeah.
But he's also leading the charge on every other anti-human initiative that comes out of the United States Congress. Anything that's bad for the public, he's for. Anything that might help the public, he ignores. Like, what is that? What is his motive? Do you understand?
I'll go back to when he was a candidate for Congress. I was already serving in the House. And in our conference meetings, in our GOP conference meetings, the ones that we have at the Capitol Hill, we have two different type of conference meetings. Each week, there's one meeting a week. And it's kind of sad that your Republican representatives only meet one time a week, but once a week. And one is either political, and that one happens inside the Capitol. And then there's another kind that's completely and totally campaign and fundraising related. That one happens off campus at the Capitol Hill Club. And they bring in candidates. They'll bring in, any new candidate running for Congress that, of course, is only approved by the NRCC and approved by the traditional establishment Republican Party in Washington. So they will bring in these candidates into this GOP meeting. They'll have them stand up, raise their hand, introduce themselves. The speaker or the leader, whoever is talking, will praise them and explain to everyone in the room why they've got to write them a max check immediately and help get them elected because they're fighting to become part of the team. So I remember specifically when Mike Lawler came in, and he was welcomed in by everybody. I mean, he was propped up as the guy we have to fight for, one of the most critical races as an incoming Republican candidate, because it was a very close district. And it was so important. We were told it was so important to win this district. Well, I learned a lot about him very quickly. He, as a Catholic, Mike Lawler is a Catholic, was heavily supported and funded by the Jewish community there, and was heavily being supported by all the Christian Zionists. And he instantly had more support from pretty much every fundraising mechanism that there is in Washington, D.C. that supports Republicans. He had more help than I could have ever dreamed of having ever in my entire political career. And I was like, wow, what is going on with this guy? And it turns out he did win his race. It was a narrow victory, but he did win it. And of course, he instantly came into the House of Representatives completely bought and paid for by all of the establishment donor class that had supported him. He hated Donald Trump, made fun of him constantly, mimicked him, making fun of his voice. He used to attack me, make fun of me, come and find me on the House floor and make fun of me for supporting Donald Trump. And this was in the 4 years before Trump got elected as president again in 2024. And I was just like, this guy's like literally one of the worst. Well, I would say he's the worst, but Randy Fine is really the worst. But Mike Lawler was unbelievably, I thought he was a Democrat. I was like, he's literally a Democrat. He's so against all the things that Republican voters care about. And he clearly hates Donald Trump. Well, I saw this unbelievable change in him. And of course, it happened after Trump won his primary in 2024. All of a sudden, Mike Lawler, I started joking. I started calling him MAGA Mike Lawler, because he was all of a sudden like becoming Trump's biggest supporter. And he was all excited. He got a MAGA hat signed by Donald Trump, came straight up to me to show it to me. And I'll never forget the day that he had gone and met with the president at the White House. Of course, I was not invited. Only all the Republicans that hated the president before. Let me tell you, Tucker, it all changed. When Trump went in the White House, literally in a matter of months, those of us that fought for him when no one else would, who were basically like the inner circle, we all of a sudden got kicked out. And it was the Republicans like Mike Lawler and all these other guys that were the ones being constantly ushered into the White House for meetings and all kinds of things. So he came back on the House floor one day and he had one of Trump's gigantic challenge coins that's like big and gold and obnoxious and heavy. And he came up and he was like, I've got one of these, Marjorie. Do you have one of these? And he was all bragging about it. But you know what that told me, Tucker, is what I really reflecting on it now that I didn't really realize at that time.
See, it's interesting how these things have happened. And it is true, by the way. Everybody that was pro-Trump and helped Trump to get to the White House, all of a sudden were outcasted because maybe they stuck to their guns and denounced what Trump started doing later on. Many people of back in the day that didn't like Trump have become now his right hand people. I mean, Lindsey Graham hated Trump. Mark Levin hated Trump. I'm talking about politicians and also broadcasters. You can pick them. They were all against them, and all of a sudden now, today, they're the ones beside Donald Trump, even advising him on many of these big issues around the U.S. and the world. So many of those pro-Trumpers, the ones that helped Trump get elected, a lot of these journalists, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk got killed and assassinated, not saying it has anything to do with each other, but regardless, even Marjorie Taylor Greene, everybody, for the most part, that helped Trump, now are the outcasts of the bunch. And of course, a few have stayed. But it is very interesting to say the least. This is the juicy part, though, coming up right now, where she basically mentions the donations.
Was that the president not only was Mike Lawler fully bought and paid for by this, and Don Bacon and all these other guys, fully bought and paid for by the political industrial complex that maintains the power structure in Washington that is completely America last. But the fact that they were the ones now first on the list to go to the White House and the ones being courted all the time, that meant that's when the president also became bought and paid for by the exact same group of people,
Wow.
powerful donor class, and the powerful industries.
That's very, very, very tough. What she said there is right through cutthroat. She's saying that Donald Trump has been bought for and paid for by these donors. Is that surprising? I can never affirm or deny. However, it's not the first time that these types of conversations have come up before. Many times about donors controlling the country from either side of the aisle.
So the reason Mike Lawler was unusual even in the Congress was he was such a slavish servant of Israel. Mm-hmm. From his very first public statements, everything was about Israel. He comes from a district with a lot of problems. Mm-hmm. I didn't read a single solution to any of those problems he was proposing, but it was always about Israel. Would you say that the group that hated Trump and then early in the term got invitations to the White House, were they all servants of Israel?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Are you kidding me? Tucker, when I introduced an amendment to defund Israel just last year, it hasn't even been a year yet. Only 5 other members of Congress, 5 out of 435, only 5 voted with me to defund American taxpayer dollars going to Israel. So that's your count. If you want to know how many members of Congress on both sides of the aisle are completely beholden to funding Israel, no matter what they do, no matter how much genocide they commit, no matter how many Lebanon Christian villages they destroy, no matter which country they decide to bomb out of their madness and desire for destruction, there's only, it was only 5. It's total 6 of us. There were 6 of us, including myself. That's your count.
I assume Massey was one of those.
Of course, Thomas Massey was one. Of course.
Yeah.
He's not bought and paid for, which is why his race is the most important race that has to be won. None of the other ones really matter.
Wow. Well, what do you have to say about that, folks? I mean, very, very, very tough. Listen, she's making those allegations, of course, but at the end of the day, I mean, they're all in here for money. One of the things why I voted for Trump is because I didn't think that he didn't need money. So it was unorthodox. He was not a regular politician. But the more time has gone by, the more you can tell that he is just another politician. Very egocentric, very ego-driven. I think that you don't even have to pay Trump, in my opinion. I think that all you got to do is feed his ego, and trust me, you will be on his side, by his side. And if you never go against him, and you agree with him, and you feed his ego, you're going to be in this situation. You're going to be right there next to him. He's going to take your word. He's going to take your advice. And yeah, you just got to know how to deal with Trump. And it's unfortunate, but that is the way I see it. What do you think about Marjorie Taylor Greene and what Tucker Carlson had to say there? Very interesting. From a veteran perspective, it is tough because you have to follow the president, of course, no matter what political party you follow or who you voted for, you have to follow the leader of this country. And regardless, you just have to do what they tell you. There's nothing really to say other than we should be voting for the right person to be in office. Unfortunately, this country is governed and owned and controlled 100% by these two parties who just want to be right. And regardless of what they think or what the facts of the matter are, they're going to vote for their candidate. And to me, that is the biggest downfall of this country. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Take care and bye-bye.